I recently made a video where I said that you couldn't get an authentic tape stop effect using Ableton stock plugins, and you guys called me out for it. You told me I was wrong, you told me I should be ashamed of myself, and you called me a f***ing idiot. Okay, maybe not that last part, but I did some experimentation and it turns out that you guys were right. You can. The method I showed in that video was using a free plugin like this one, Cassette Transport. This is the best one that I found to do this effect. And all you have to do is turn down the volumes of everything here. We don't want any of that extra noise. We're going to turn the time from sync to free. And then we're going to turn this stop time all the way up so that it does a long effect. We like it like that. And then we're going to turn this play time down to something relatively shorter here. So we'll just turn it all the way back. And now all we have to do with this is we have to automate the stopping effect, right? So let's go ahead and just do this right in here. So we have our automations turned on. If you don't have them turned on, just make sure this is highlighted. And then you'll see it pop up here. And then you just got to go to your cassette transport or whatever plugin that you're using, and you got to find the right one. Ours is called transport. Yours might be called stop or pause or whatever it is. So I definitely recommend you use this plugin though. So now we just have to find where we want it to happen in this beat, and then we got to automate it on or off. So let's go ahead and do that. Super easy, right? You can't really beat that. But you guys recommended two other ways that you can do that using stock plugins in Ableton. For the first method, we have to automate a couple things. First is the BPM of the song tempo. So I have this right here, and if we go ahead and turn the song tempo down, we can only go to 20. That's the only thing I don't like about this is you are limited in your control. And if yours isn't 20, if it's a little bit higher, you can go ahead and actually turn this down. So you're going to want to find where you want the effect to start. We're going to do it in the middle of this sample like you can see here. And we're going to start automating it down. Next, we're going to double click into this sample right here. And then we can go ahead and click envelopes and we can click on whatever we want to automate. So let's go to clip right here and we're going to go to transposition. From here, I'm going to find this middle point right here and I'm going to automate this all the way down to 24 semitones. The other thing about this method is that you can only go down 48 semitones. So you're limited on those two areas. But I pretty much like how the 24 semitones sounds. I think it sounds really great. So go ahead and play around with this until you get it to sound right. After you do that, then you want to play with both of these values to get them to sound right together. So you might want to make this lower or higher in semitones. You might want this curve to be steeper, or you might want it to play out longer. Like we could stretch out this BPM to there, and then we could stretch out this as well. But let's just hear how this is sounding right now. So I like this effect, but since we can only go down to 20 BPM and not 0, it never really fully stops, right? It doesn't fully stop. So what I ended up doing is I ended up making this little fade right here. So since we have this on, if we turn this off now, we can actually affect the different faders. So I did that and it helped a little bit, but I'm not exactly 100% happy with that method. The other thing about this method is it requires you to go ahead and track out your beat to do it, right? To go ahead and transpose, we have to have a waveform to do that. Otherwise, we can't do that on the masters. So there's a couple other ways around this if you're using a live set and you don't have it freeze and flattened like we do here, if you don't have the waveform. What you can do is you can go ahead and make your MIDI tracks right here. There's actually an Ableton plugin called Pitch. It's under your MIDI effects. If we go under MIDI effects right here, you can see that there is a pitch. This only works for MIDI tracks though. So you can double click and put it on right here. And now you see we have this pitch tool down here. So now I can take whatever layers I'm doing and I can go ahead and automate this. So let's go ahead and find the pitch. And then yes, we'll automate the pitch there and we can start taking this down here. And then we can put it down to, 48, what we had before. Wow. Okay. That's a wow. Okay. So you might have, oh my goodness, what's going on there? You might have to play around with this a little bit, or we can just drag this down to make it even bigger. That might help a little bit, eh? But then you got to do this for every single MIDI track. For any MIDI instruments that you have, you got to do them each individually like this. You could copy and paste it, but it becomes a hassle, especially if you have a ton of tracks, right? And then for the audio tracks, if you wanted to do it, you just do it the way that we showed in the first method. You double click into the sample, make sure that it's warped, and you can draw in the transposition. So you have to do all of your tracks separately like this, and it's just not the ideal way to do it. There is one better way to do it that I want to show you right now. Somebody made this Ableton Max for Live effect right here. I'll leave the link of this in the description below, but it's called the master pitch. And this makes it a little bit easier. So let me show exactly how to do it. So if we go into the master pitch folder right here, you'll see it comes with a couple different things. You got a track pitch MPE, and a master pitch. So what you got to do is you got to go to your master, put the master pitch on the master. And then for each of the tracks, you're going to want to go ahead and put the track pitch. And if it's an MPE device, you're going to want to use that one specially. The only thing is this doesn't go on an audio track, right? So if I have an audio track like this one, for example, I can't put the track pitch on here. It just won't work. So that's the only thing. You'll have to do those separately or just make it into a MIDI track. So now all I have to do is affect it on the master instead of trying to do it on all the other ones. So I can go onto my master here. Let's go ahead and go to our master pitch plugin. We can then go to our master pitch. Let's go ahead and draw this in. So we're going to draw it down 12 semitones right here. And then what we want to do is we want to switch to the -1 and then go up. So let's go ahead and go back up. We're going to pull this stop in. Then we're going to go ahead and automate the octave here. Then we can go ahead and automate the octave at that point down 1. And then from there, we're going to go back again. I know this seems kind of crazy, but this is how you would do it, right? So we go back to the pitch, and then again, we're going to go down. So let's see how this sounds now. So there you go. That's how you could do it on that end. And then you would also have to go ahead and do the BPM again for that to work. You can go into the song tempo, and then you can go ahead and do it however you want. Remember, we can only go down to 20, so a little bit of limitation on each of these methods, but don't worry, we have a better one coming up in just a second. So this does a pretty decent job, but I wasn't 100% happy with this method, the limitations and not getting it to fully stop and all that jazz. But there was one other method that people were commenting on that post. So all you need for this is you want to use the Ableton stock delay plugin. From there, you're going to want to turn the dry wet up 100%. You're going to turn the feedback down to 0. You want to turn this from sync to time. And then you're going to want to leave these linked, of course. You can go ahead and turn the filter off as well. We don't need that. And make sure you leave this in repitch mode. And from there, we're just going to automate the time here from 0 or as far down as it goes all the way up. What I noticed about this method is that when you start automating it up with these lower values, it's not noticeable right away. So instead of starting this in the middle of the sample like we did with the other ones, I ended up having to start it a little bit earlier here, and I even dragged it out a little bit longer. So let's hear what this sounds like. That sounds pretty dang good. And in fact, if what we did is we did the same thing as that other one, we go ahead and turn this off, then we can go ahead and make a little fade here at the end. This method I was actually very happy about. This does it properly. It does the full thing. It comes to pretty much a full stop, and it's super easy to do. So as you can see, I have this on my MIDI track, but we could go ahead and copy this delay onto the master. So that's what's amazing about this as well. So that kills all the birds with one giant stone. The other thing that I really like about this method that you can go ahead and play with is that you can get some crazy results if you play with the feedback and the filter. Let me show you really quick. Let's go ahead and play with this feedback. And you have this infinity thing right here, and what it does is it takes the spot that it's played on when you go ahead and press it, and it just keeps it going. It almost like glitches out at that time. That's pretty cool. You can play with this modulation rate right here, and you can get some wobbly sort of effects. So if we put the filter on, you know, a certain percentage, we play with the time a little bit and the rate, we can start to get something like this. Start getting dizzy up in this shizad. So shout out to everybody who commented on that video and let me know this way, because yeah, this is awesome and I'm going to be using it from now on, and you can get some crazy effects just playing with this plugin. What do you know? What do you know? And if you guys want to see how you can go ahead and remix any song ever, go ahead and check out this video next, because I break down all the sauce and show you guys how you can even steal the track stems and acapellas. So check that one out next, fam.